What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City video, where today I'm going to be doing my match review, match reaction and match analysis of Manchester City's 3-1 defeat on the night, 6-3 aggregate loss against Real Madrid in the Champions League last 16 playoff game. Manchester City now heading out of the Champions League and heading out of Europe as well for the season. We'll digest all the talking points from this game, the big disappointment for Manchester City, and how we can maybe try and scramble some success heading into the business end of this season. So before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, then please do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Also, don't forget social media links there in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video and do let me know your thoughts as well in the comments below. So we'll crack on then by having a look at the talking points. And the first thing I really want to talk about, guys, is I want to talk about Pep Guardiola's team selection, because I made the point in my preview, when you pick up such a convincing win against a very good Newcastle side at the weekend that's got fresh legs and plenty of energy about it, and also the average age of the squad being brought right down. I remember saying, go with that team against Real Madrid. It's fearless, they're full of confidence, they've just won, they've got nothing to lose, a point to prove. You know, we lost at the Etihad Stadium. Go with that team. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Oh well, we tried. Because what you don't want to do is go with aging, tired legs against a team as good as Real Madrid. It didn't work last week in Manchester, and it's not going to work in Madrid tonight for this game either yet. What do we look at? The starting 11. Bernardo Silva's in there once more. Ilkay Gundogan's in there once more. Plenty of experience for Manchester City, but nothing much else to be able to show. And when you got, football games that won and lost in midfield, in particular when you're taking on a team like Real Madrid, who have got midfield and runners for days, players like Tchouaméni, players like Jude Bellingham, you need the runners, you need the players there who are going to help try and take this game by the scruff of the neck. You've got to try and match the running and be just as physical, if not even more physical than what Real Madrid are going to be, to try and ensure that we're putting them under pressure. And it just never really happened. And then first 5 minutes, just I felt like really knocked the stuffing out of Manchester City, coming with a clear game plan to try and keep things tight, keep things close, and then look towards the second half. You're going to bring your big hitters off the bench, your De Bruyne's, your Erling Haaland's, etc., and see if they can make a difference in having a pop at some tired Real Madrid legs who may need a bit of rotation once you get to like the 65th, 70th minute, and you see a bit of a drop-off come in the game, which is kind of what we saw last week from Manchester City at the Etihad Stadium. But your game plan's undone after the first couple of minutes, when Real Madrid's first ball sent forward is long and Manchester City's high line's exposed, and Ruben Diaz doesn't deal with the danger, and Kylian Mbappe, a player as good as Kylian Mbappe, you're giving him a bit of space with the ball bouncing. He's going to lob the keeper every single day of the week. Why is Ederson 2-3 minutes into the game that far off his line? Why are we letting the ball bounce? What's going on? It's awful defending. If you're a game that's you're trailing by one, you need to go out and score the opening goal, and you need to take the game to Real Madrid. If you're going to let them go 1-0 ahead, then you're always going to be up against it. But even though going 1-0 behind, it's not the end of the world. I always fancied City were going to need to score 2, 3, even 4 goals from this game. So Real Madrid scoring one didn't really, for me, change much going into this game. You've just got to keep going and going and going. But John Stones picks up an injury a couple of minutes later, and inside the first 5 minutes we've conceded, and John Stones is injured, and I don't know how long he's going to be out for, but it was unchallenged. It didn't look good, and I'm going to presume now that John Stones is going to be missing at least the next few games. Certainly the few games coming up over the next couple of weeks. And I spoke about in my preview, if we're going to make any changes from that team that beat Newcastle, the only change would be with John Stones, because he can't do 3 games in a week. He never does 3 games in a week for Manchester City, because he's made of glass. He can't do more than 2 games in a week. He can't do 3. He can't do 3 games in 7 days. Yeah, here we are, 3 games in 8 days. Oh, right, that extra day's rest. It's going to make the world of difference. 5 minutes in, he picks up an injury. And it's just been the story of John Stones' career at Manchester City. I think he's a wonderful player. A fully fit John Stones is, to me, There's no other player like him. He's world class. But you cannot rely upon a player who's just, for the most part, not going to be fit. And if you're not going to be fit and able to do, let's say you've got a week in your season where you've got 3 huge games over the course of 7 or 8 days, you need your biggest and best players to be available for all of them games, and it's just never going to happen for John Stones. And I think this is something that seriously needs looking at for Manchester City heading into the summer transfer window, about what do you do with the John Stones conundrum. If you cannot rely on John Stones' injury record, then to me, there's no point in him being at Manchester City. If we cannot rely upon him to be fit for our most important games, then it's pointless having a world-class player here if they're not going to be available for us. And to me, the question marks have always been there, and something's had to give. You're overutilising John Stones, and here we are with it given, and we've still got huge games to come. Liverpool at home in the Premier League, Tottenham Hotspur next week in the Premier League away from home, Nottingham Forest having a brilliant season in the Premier League so far as well, away from home the week after. There's huge games to come for Manchester City between now and that March international break. Huge games. That's where the focus has to be from us now exiting out of the Champions League. You've got to try and scramble some success going into the end of this season, win an FA Cup, get a top 4 finish, and move on and go from there. Focus has to turn to Liverpool. It's a huge game, and it's not going to be easy for us on Sunday. But this, again, we're at this part of the season where normally we're seeing the very best out of Manchester City, but there's got to be a reality check. The players have got to take a good, long, hard look at themselves, because we're not good enough to win the Champions League. Our performance in the league stage showed me that we're not good enough to win the Champions League. There's a reason why we've not finished in the top 8. There's a reason why we're facing Real Madrid this early in the competition, because we've not pulled our weight and we've not been very good. And quite frankly, we deserve to go out. Real Madrid's the bigger surprise for me, that they've not managed to finish in the top 8. Real Madrid should be finishing in the top 8 like we should be finishing in the top 8. And if Real Madrid and Man City do their job properly in the league stage, then we're not worrying about this. We're top seeds going into the last 16 of the Champions League, where we'll be away from home in the first leg and at home in the second leg, and always giving you the psychological advantage, and you deserve that through finishing in the top 8. You finish outside of the top 8, that's where the alarm bells are, and that's what we've learned from this bad Champions League campaign for Manchester City. Not at the races here against Real Madrid. No answers for the likes of Vinicius Jr., Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo, all pulling strings against Manchester City, and Real Madrid dictated the pace of this game all too well. That first half from Manchester City, quite frankly, was a joke, and City were completely overran. A big question marks over Manchester City's mental capabilities, big questions over Manchester City's fitness, and once again reiterating, I don't know why Pep's gone with this, but having tired, ageing, old legs in midfield is just not going to work. It's not going to work against a team as good as Real Madrid. It's not going to work on Sunday against a team as good as Liverpool. It won't work against Spurs away from home. It won't work against Nottingham Forest. Heck, I'm almost certain it won't work against Plymouth in the FA Cup at home. You've got to have fitness, you've got to have legs, you've got to have runners. If you're not going to have that, you're not going to have success. It's why we had bad results in Lisbon, against Sporting, against Juventus, in Turin, against Paris Saint-Germain in Paris, even the Feyenoord game and the Inter Milan games at home. We didn't have enough. We've not got enough, and it's not happening for Manchester City this season. So to me, if we're not going to win the Champions League, then exiting out the competition in February will serve City better domestically, because it allows us now to turn our focus towards the Premier League and focusing on finishing in the top 4. We're going to, after next week, be playing once every week rather than every 3 to 4 days. We can start to work on getting players back from injury, not having to rush players back because we're playing so many games. We can focus on the fitness, and I'm hoping that by the time we get to around the middle to the end of April, we'll have more or less most of the players back available for us, bar maybe Rodri, and we can see if we can scramble some success. We've just got to try and remain competitive and in touching distance. And for me, if we can have a couple of good results against Liverpool and against Spurs, then Man City are looking very good for finishing in the top 4, but lose both of them games, and all of a sudden it's very much on, and City once again backs against the wall. So there to me is where the success lies for the rest of this month. It was always going to be a very difficult month, and going into the fact that we were the bottom seeds going into the last 16 playoff, where we didn't want to be. We needed to win on the final game of the league campaign to even stay in the Champions League. Ultimately pointing towards there's been tremendous failure on Manchester City's behalf, and you know, we can sit here and talk all day about why that is, but the fundamentals are poor business in the summer. Pep Guardiola hasn't, to me, managed to get the most out of the team that we've got available to us. Too many injuries, not enough preparation for the start of the season, and ultimately has led to a decline in form, a decline in fitness, a decline in injuries for Manchester City, and we've ended up setting ourselves up for a season to suffer, which continues here with defeat in Madrid, with Mbappe getting a hat-trick, and we exit out the competition 6-3 on aggregate. Only real bonuses that we had was it was nice to have Khusanov, who I thought had a very good game for a player so young, having a lot of energy and also good pace, doing a pretty good job on Vinicius Jr. in particular in the foot races, going one-on-one. I thought he did a very good job, and also Nico scoring his first ever goal for Manchester City. It took till 75th, 80th minute for Real Madrid to make the changes, tired legs, before Man City managed to get to grips on the game and actually start to create and make things happen. Ultimately, it's not really been good enough. Maybe it might have been different if we had Haaland fit and you have Marmoush playing behind him, because I think that's had a big impact, but Haaland was always carrying that knock from Newcastle, and it was always best not to take the risk, and hopefully he'll be ready and good to go for the Liverpool game, because Haaland deserves a bit of slack. He's played every single game in the Champions League and Premier League for Manchester City so far this season, and at the moment it's it's not worked for Manchester City, unfortunately, and we exit out of the competition. I'm not going to sit here and moan and complain and lose the plot over this. I said it last week to you guys, you lose your home leg in the first leg at home, you lose that, you know, you've not got a positive result to take to the away game. 9 times out of 10, maybe 19 times out of 20, you're going out. You're going to struggle to make it happen. And against a team as good as Real Madrid, it just never was going to happen. I'm just a bit disappointed by the lack of fight and the lack of changes and the lack of desire. And I'm sat here thinking what could have been for Manchester City, and I think that's always the worst kind of defeat to have, when you're thinking about what could have been rather than what did happen. And in the end, just City fell short, way short, not being good enough all competition, not being good enough here against Real Madrid, and we've now got to try and scramble some success in the Premier League and FA Cup for the remainder of this season, and hopefully we can get a top 4 finish and we'll be back in the Champions League, raring to go further into our transition under new leadership at the top of the board, with Hugo Viana coming in, and we can bring some fresh faces in, and we can move from there and put this sorry season behind us. Still playing to play for, FA Cup, most prestigious domestic cup competition in the world. Still got that to play for. Still got top 4 to try and seal in the Champions League, in the Premier League, to get a Champions League spot for next season. So we'll see. We will see. So yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. Much appreciated. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video. That would be much appreciated. Do also let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What's gone wrong here for Manchester City? What should we change? What should we do? Do let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new around here. Press that red button. Press the bell and put your push notifications on. Social media links in the description too. If you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Also, I'm going to leave the link at the top of my description. If you are available on Sunday to go and watch Manchester City against Liverpool, I am running a giveaway where you can win 2 tickets for that game, so do stay tuned for that. The link is in the description, right at the top of the description. It's on my Twitter. All you need to do, follow me on my Twitter, retweet or repost that tweet that I put out. That'll enter you into the draw, and you could win 2 tickets for Manchester City's game against Liverpool on Sunday. That competition does come to an end tomorrow for you guys, so do go and check that out if you are available for that game at the Etihad Stadium. Yeah, and I'll see you all again real soon. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.